Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Sarah Wong. Our top stories tonight. One more diner at Moon Palace restaurant suspected to have contracted Omicron as authorities hunt down remaining patrons. 90 lawmakers begin their term in office by taking their oaths in front of chief executive. And online news portal Citizen News said it had no choice but to cease operations. An infection cluster related to the Moon Palace restaurant continues to grow after another person tested preliminary positive today. Authorities say they're still trying to track down several customers who visited the eatery in Kowloon. Johanna Chen with the latest.
As authorities scramble to keep a COVID cluster from getting out of control, more cases related to Moon Palace in Festival Walk have emerged. In a press conference this afternoon, Albert Au from the Center for Health Protection said a 66-year-old woman had tested preliminary positive for COVID, making her a potential sixth customer to catch the virus. The retired woman had visited the restaurant on December 27th with 8 relatives and had returned a positive result while undergoing isolation at a quarantine center. Block 2 of Tai Wai's Granville Garden, where she lives, was sealed off at around 7 p.m. All her neighbors must go through mandatory testing overnight. Today, government staff returned to the Kowloon eatery to collect more samples, mainly from air ventilation filters and items like teapots and cups. The Electrical and Mechanical Services Department also said air ventilation in parts of the area were not satisfactory, with just around 5 air changes per hour. The cluster has now spanned to 4 tables, including the original one the aircrew sat at. The government has managed to track down 191 of the 207 diners who visited Moon Palace that day. But it's still looking for 6 people who apparently failed to leave their contact information.
Our staff in the contact tracing office, they will review the CCTV in the mall in order to identify their whereabouts, and also we will see whether we can trace them according to their autobus record or other credit card records, etc.
Hong Kong saw a total of 29 cases today, 28 of which were imported. One of them is a Cathay Pacific aircrew member who lives in Lantau. The others came from the Philippines, Indonesia, Australia, Canada, and South Africa. The one local case is the wife of a construction worker who visited Moon Palace. She had tested preliminary positive yesterday. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
The government has dismissed rumors that it would seal its borders or ban evening dine-ins at restaurants. A spokesman warned culprits who try to cause public panic by spreading false information online will be met with the full force of the law. But the public did not seem to be worried. Thousands of bargain hunters turned up in Victoria Park for the Brands and Products Expo, which drew to a close tonight. Organizers said over 1 million people visited the fair in the past 24 days, spending a total of $1 billion. The city's lawmakers-elect were sworn into the chamber this morning. Unlike previous years, the ceremony was smooth, with only a few slip-ups that were addressed on the spot. The chief executive's office announced several hours later that all 90 of them were deemed valid. Johanna Chen has more.
Less than a week after their rehearsal, Hong Kong's 90 lawmakers-elect were back in the Legislative Council chamber. For the first time since the handover, the oath-taking ceremony took place under the People's Republic of China emblem instead of the SAR's Bauhinia flower. Chief Executive Carrie Lam officiated the swearing-in, which kicked off with the national anthem. Legislators were then called out one by one to take their pledges.
I, Cheung Yu-Yan Tommy, swear by Almighty God.
The most experienced Tommy Cheung went first and did his in English. Some first-timers also chose not to take their oaths in Cantonese. Chow Man Kong, Sun Dong, and Tan Yueheng, who are all from the election committee constituency, took their oaths in Putonghua. But even after practicing last week, the ceremony was not without its hiccups.
本人就任中華人民共和國香港特別行政區立法會。
Michael Look from the FTU skipped over the word member, accidentally calling himself the Legislative Council. He was asked to retake his pledge by Secretary General Kenneth Chen.
本人就任中華人民共和國特別行政區立法會議員。
Third side's Tik Chi-yun, the sole non-establishment lawmaker, also had to take his oath again after he forgot to say Hong Kong before Special Administrative Region. Meanwhile, the DAB's Gary Chan did not hold up his right hand like the majority of his colleagues, but he was not called out by the chief executive or Chen. He later argued it was not a requirement. The whole ceremony took just a little over an hour. Later in the day, the CE's office confirmed that all the oaths have been deemed valid. Members will decide on their new president next Monday, before the term's first meeting takes place next Wednesday. Johanna Chan, HKIBC.
The city's newly minted lawmakers met the press after taking their oaths today. Tik Chi-yun, who was asked to do his oath a second time, blamed his mistake on nerves. Wong reports.
In a big show of unity, lawmakers stood together in a tidy group after they completed their oath-taking ceremony this morning. One by one, they made speeches describing their pride and joy in being part of the chamber's first Patriots-only cabinet.
我哋終於可以告別過去對西方民主劣質嘅盲目追求。
Many, including the term's youngest member, Jofi Chan, said they were glad that a blind pursuit of poor Western democracy was now a thing of the past. Tik Chi-yun, who was asked to retake his oath, blamed his mess-up on nerves.
I really don't understand why, because I practiced many times, and then maybe we cannot focus myself or sometimes feel nervous about this. I don't know. But anyway, our secretary reminded me that if we have make some mistake about the presentation, about the announcement, you can repeat once again, act correctly. It's no problem about this.
Lawmakers this time are taking their oaths very seriously after seeing what happened to their predecessors some 5 years ago. Throughout 2016 and 2017, the government unseated 6 non-establishment members of LegCo, saying they had failed to take their oaths in a sincere or solemn manner. It came after then Secretary for Justice Rim-Ski-yun launched an unprecedented judicial review against Sixtus Leung and Yao Wai-cheng, which was followed by an interpretation of Article 104 of the Basic Law by Beijing's National People's Congress Standing Committee. Meanwhile, Reverend Peter Douglas Kuhn announced at the press conference that he will resign from all his administrative roles in the church so he can concentrate on being a lawmaker. Kuhn said he would continue to help Chan Tong-kai, the man accused of murdering his girlfriend in Taiwan. But he insisted the ball is still in Taipei's court. It's very simple. We can move forward with the case once they agree to let him return, he said. Wong, HKIBC.
Online media outlet Citizen News said it will suspend operation after midnight, just days after the closure of fellow online portal Stand News. The management said they had no choice but to wind up. Isaac Lee has the latest.
It was the first business day of the new year, but for dozens of staff at Citizen News, this could be their last time returning to their posts. Hidden inside a factory building in Chengsha Wan, the online news outlet announced last night that it would cease operation tomorrow. Around 40 employees would be dismissed in accordance with labor regulations. Meeting the press this morning, the outlet's management admitted the abrupt decision was triggered by the police operation against Stand News. Authorities last week arrested 7 people for allegedly publishing seditious content and froze $61 million of assets belonging to Stand News. The online media firm decided to shut down on the same day.
咁有啲嘢我作為總編輯，其實我都
Citizen News chief editor Daisy Lee conceded she could no longer tell whether a particular news report would run foul of the law. But chief writer Christian dismissed speculation that the group had faced pressure from authorities.
We have not been contacted by the police or national security officers on any matters. But the indications are clear that overall media is facing an increasingly tough environment. And for those who are being seen as critical or troublemakers, they are more vulnerable.
The former head of the Journalists Association was also uncertain what the future holds for the industry.
We have no crystal ball to tell, say, the room for independent media. But we still believe in journalism, the vital importance of the role of media and journalists in society.
In response, the Journalists Association said it was heartbroken to learn that another news outlet was winding up within 1 week. It urged authorities to safeguard the free flow of information and press freedom. Founded by 10 veteran journalists in 2017, Citizen News gradually expanded over years by absorbing talent from other news outlets. The organization remained independent, but surviving on subscription fees and donations. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
A man who allegedly knocked down multiple pedestrians in San Po Kong on New Year's Eve has been denied bail. Ryan Ng was absent from his court hearing this morning as he remained in Queen Elizabeth Hospital. The 25-year-old was represented by his lawyer at Kwun Tong Magistracy, which adjourned the case to Friday. Ng has been accused of dangerous driving causing death after he lost control of his vehicle in high speed and mounted the pavement. 2 passers-by were killed and 3 others were injured. A 6.4 magnitude earthquake has rocked Taiwan's Hualien County and its surrounding region. China Earthquake Network Center said the quake struck off Taiwan's eastern coast with a depth of 15 kilometers. The impact rattled the entire island in the mainland cities of Fuzhou, Quanzhou, and Xiamen. The tremor followed a 6.5 magnitude quake in October, which rocked Taiwan's Yilan County. No fatalities were reported in that shock. Earthquakes were frequent in Taiwan, which sits near the junction of 2 tectonic plates in the South China Sea. And coming up after the break, a political crisis worsens in Sudan after its prime minister resigned amid unrest on the streets. And Hong Kong's retail sales continue to improve.